intellectually subjugated in that way, and that the revolution in morality, what he refers to as a revaluation of all values. And that's an important phrase because that's what he thinks we need to do again. But we have a moment of revaluation of all values when the Jews escape from slavery and overturn the masters, and they accomplish this with a reversal of values in just the way that I mentioned a moment ago, right? That it's no longer strength that is a virtue, it's meekness. It is no longer the ability to kill, but the ability to turn the other cheek. And that reversal is this upheaval um, in morality that overturns that class. And interestingly, right, so I mentioned that for Nietzsche, the noble morality is also kind of stupid morality, right? It's the broad-chested guy that walks around telling himself that he's the greatest all the time and doesn't need to be critical or think very much. Just goes about life assuming that he's the greatest, right? Almost always a man, and this person is dumb, but doesn't need to not be dumb, right? There's a kind of ignorant joy in this kind of uncritical self-affirmation and self-love. And Nietzsche says, in this moment of revaluation and moral revolution, in this reversal of moral values, he says, this is when, for the first time, human beings become clever, become interesting. So there is, in this reversal, a moment where intelligence and cunning and cleverness are able to overcome and triumph over sort of brute strength. So, born out of resentment, the underclass, the oppressed class, the oppressed people is able to overcome through this intellectual trick of reversing all values, right? And so, as he says in the genealogy, this may have been begun by the Jews out of resentment for being enslaved, but we see the triumph of that morality, of what he calls slave morality, morality of resentment and of these reversed values. That morality triumphs with the triumph of Christianity. Christianity is the completion of this slave morality. And so this leads into Nietzsche's broader critique of Christianity, that Christianity is not a morality that lends itself to self-affirmation, to self-love, and is not a morality of strength, nor of a celebration of this world, right? It's always about the other world. So it's part of his critique of Christianity. So this revolution, I mean, we should also be critical, certainly, that Nietzsche understands history as this rather simple action and reaction. And we have noble morality, and then a growing resentment by those oppressed by that, those in power, and then a reversal which overcomes that. Right? To understand Jewish culture, and for that matter, Christian culture and Christian morality and theology as simply a reaction is problematic, right? And it makes it derivative ultimately of that master noble morality. So next video, I want to do one more video on Nietzsche and get into some more details about resentment and particular the priests and how this gets idealized into religion and an absolute idea of good, and talk a little bit more about relative morality. But I think the key understanding here, the thing that is valuable about Nietzsche, is to understand the way that power, physical and political power, are essential, inextricable from our ideas of good, virtue, and even the useful. And to understand that power changes hands through the course of history. What Nietzsche's not saying is that there is some rightful group of people that ought to have power. What he's saying is we have to understand our ideas of good, of virtue, and the useful in terms of history, in terms of power. And I think, certainly in rereading this, I found a lot of reasons to be very skeptical of Nietzsche's interpretation of race and race relations, and his reading of history. But I think it's useful to think about the way that this Nietzschean idea can be applied to contemporary race relations. And we're, in the next coming weeks, going to be reading a lot of material that deals with this much more explicitly, but I'll say for now, for example, the idea of black power. Black power is, in some sense, it's not an Nietzschean idea, but it fits with Nietzsche's conception of how power and the good work together, right? So the idea, just to say, for example, black is beautiful, or the Million Man March, where a million African Americans marched around signs saying "I am a man," right? That is the ability to transform the meaning of the good, the beautiful, and the true by affirming your own power, by recognizing your own power, exerting your own power, and by realizing that the established power, the powers that be, the rulers, the masters, that they only have one thing, not truth, not beauty, not goodness. They just have power. And if you can summon your own power, then you can change what truth and beauty and the good mean. All right, so we will come back to this. I have moderate expectations about getting another video off to you by Thursday, but I will try to get one off to you as soon as possible this week. And we will, I think, talk a little bit more about Nietzsche. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys. Hope you're holding up okay.